Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help ambitious private practitioners across the globe to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building ninja tips. Visit privatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and our signature marketing e-course. Here are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Hey, Startup Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We are excited you're here as we are continuing our kind of mini-series peppered in a bunch of our other podcasts. And today we're going to be talking to one of our alumni, and this is Ruth's success story in private practice. So she's going to be taking us on a journey from how she decided to really get into being a therapist, what life was like before doing e-course and coaching, what life's like after, some of the things that she's had to overcome. So all the good stuff. And we just want to share her success story with you. So she's a ball of energy and fun. You guys are definitely going to enjoy her. That's her in the background saying, yay. But before we get started, we hope that you guys joined us last week. Speaking of private practice, we spoke to our friend and colleague, and also now our coach, one of our coaches here at the Private Practice Startup, Susan Block, and she talked about the do's and don'ts of starting a successful private practice. So you'll want to check that one out too. We have a bunch of resources and stuff like that we shared in that episode. And if you're brand new here, we want to welcome you with open arms and say welcome to the Startup Nation family. We have a gift for you. That is our A to Z cheat sheet, the essentials for building and growing your dream practice. You can head over to privatepracticestartup.com, head over to the resources tab, and there you'll see it. It also comes with 5 days of practice building emails. So you want to make sure you read the emails and definitely do the work. And if you're already a part of our family, our Startup Nation superhero family, welcome back. We hope you guys are having an awesome day. And we look forward to inspiring you guys on this podcast here. So just a quick little bit about Ruth. Ruth Harbin collaborates with children, teens, and adults in her private practice to create more joy in their lives. Ruth's personality and style create a fun and relaxed atmosphere that allows them to start building courage to explore new ways of experiencing feelings and interacting with others. I know she didn't put this in her bio, but she does actually specialize in working with highly sensitive people. And Ruth has developed a full practice in just 6 months. Extraordinary. That's amazing. Welcome.
Thanks. Thank you, ladies. I
love your shirt too today. It's all like bright and full color.
Right? It's like Saved by the Bell, like the, you know, the terrible 80s graphics, but like, who doesn't love terrible 80s graphics?
That's so funny. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, why don't we take a step back and just kind of talk about, like, how did you ever decide to be a therapist?
Yeah. So I was born a highly sensitive person. But I didn't know this until I was mid-20s. So when you live in a world as a highly sensitive person, even if you don't have the terminology for that, empath, whatever terminology you use for it, you know it and you don't know it until you know it. So, so I think just always knowing, I just had this little different perspective of the world and this little different perspective of relationships and emotions and thoughts and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, I started kind of on the path to ministry within a religious context and started down that path, which is a great path to go down, but in a few years figured out that was not it. And so kind of redeveloped the same kind of skills and the same kind of things I wanted to share with people, but in the world of social work, in the world of therapeutic services.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and just always being an introspective person and meeting guides all along the way, meeting mentors all along the way, both ministers, both therapists, both, you know, all the mentors, depending on where they were and what experiences they had, they were all very instrumental in being guideposts for me. So just really wanting and believing that I could be a guidepost and I maybe had something to offer that was different.
Cool. When did you decide that you wanted to get into private practice?
So I think I want to say it was always in the back of my mind. I want to say it was always there. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it my way. But also really being realistic of knowing, like, okay, I have to figure out other ways people are doing this first. And I have to figure out a lot of different ways that I don't want to do it. And I don't know that you consciously make that decision.
Right.
But I do think I'm always the person who's kind of like, okay, if I can learn from other people's mistakes, then maybe I can make some different mistakes.
And the way for some new mistakes that happen.
Yeah, right. Okay, so maybe I don't need to make the same ones that other people made. Maybe I can make different ones and then just be further along, or I don't even like the comparison of further along, but just different along, right? I'm a big unique person. I'm big into like following the beat of your own drum.
Yeah, and that really shined really during our course, and I love to watch your photos and your personality, and Kate and I are big about that when we talk about branding, right? Really letting your personality shine through and allowing that just to be part of what it is that you do, because people love that and they're attracted to that.
Yeah, and one of the biggest takeaways I think from the course was giving myself permission to brand myself that way.
Nice.
And branding myself that way being... it's not the only choice, but it's the only way it was going to be sustainable for me to build a private practice and stay in private practice.
That's right. So
even only being in private practice 8 months, I'm like, okay, like what pieces do I need to create that are more ideal for me and more ideal for my brand, more ideal for my high sensitivity?
Yeah. And, as you say that, Ruth, I'm just kind of thinking like, a lot of us come out of school, we go to community mental health and it's a drain, right? We learn a lot. I'm so appreciative of my community mental health experience, but it's a drain. We're not working with the clients we love. We're told to do this, take low pay and all that stuff. And then if we create a business that's not in alignment to us and doesn't allow ourselves to like express ourselves in the world, like I can imagine that there's like a same effect. And you presenced me to something like even so much more important. And when we talk about branding, right, is like, like your business is sustainable because you get to show up as you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because
beautiful.
I have colleagues that I'm always interacting with and they can do things differently. And Katie, you actually turned me on to the highly sensitive person professional group, therapist group, right?
Right. I saw that and I thought of you. Yeah,
which has been amazing because it's other therapists who are also highly sensitive. And so it's like, hey, how many people do you see a day? Like 4 is my max. And you're like, oh, there's other people out there that only see 4 people a day. That's amazing. Because even in the private practice world, I think we get caught up with, I have to see 8 people. I have to see 9 people. And like, no, I want to shoot myself.
Yeah, it's way too much. It's not, there's some machines out there and they're okay with that.
Yeah, and they're okay with it. And I think that's great. And they must have a different brand. They must have a different drive, but it's okay that that's not mine.
Yeah. And then I'm just like, as you share, I'm looking at, when we come into business, I always think, business is this mirror of this great reflection and, you get to be responsible for it all, right? So you can choose to be the victim and hide and be like, it's not my fault. But, when you're the only person and it requires you to do the work to make the changes, it is you. But, as you talk, like, I think you're talking about branding, but I'm seeing so many different things as you talk, and you're also talking about your ideal client in a way, right? So that's definitely something that we teach in the course. But when you've identified your ideal client, when you've identified your brand as a highly sensitive person, you work with highly sensitive people, you stood out in my mind. And as I'm going through Facebook for something, I saw that group, right? And because I know that's you and this is also your clientele, and I shared that with you and you're benefiting from that, right?
Yes.
There's connection and there's community. Like there's so much more than I know us constantly talking about these topics that we're so passionate about.
Right.
Like it's this, I don't know, really cool serendipitous effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And not only are you talking about the ideal clients and the population that you serve and kind of knowing, all these different aspects about staying true to your brand, you're also talking about knowing yourself well enough to know when your cutoff is and what your ideal schedule is going to be.
Right.
And based on how many clients you can see in a day and how many you want to see in a week, that's going to determine what your fee is. So it's so encompassing in terms of really being clear on who you are and what makes you unique and what it is that you need to really have a thriving practice that you absolutely love. That really fits with your lifestyle.
Right.
It's so cool to hear you talk about how that has really impacted you so early on in your private practice journey, because you've only been in private practice now for 8 months.
Right.
That's amazing.
So I think, like I was saying, I think the idea was always kind of back there that I'm going to do this. I'm going to hang my shingle. But I was constantly taking notes, both mental, spiritual, emotional notes of like, in my agency work, what is working for me? What is not working for me? What can I control? What can I not control?
Talk a little bit about that. What kind of work did you do in agency, and what were some of the things that you were like, I really like this, and oh no?
Sure. So I started off doing specifically behavior work with children on the spectrum. So I think that kind of opened me up from social work as like a advocacy, macro kind of community activism, case management, to like, oh, I really like this therapy thing. Like I really like this one-on-one, watching the magic happen of the person get it or the parent get it,
cool.
And so that was kind of like, I was in that, I had a master's in social work at that point. Had a bachelor's in social work, worked at that agency, actually got a master's, came back to that agency, but came back to that agency even more hungry and ready for, I don't think just the behavior is enough, right? Like, I think there's more to this, guys. Like, I think there's some internal stuff going on. There's some family system stuff going on. There's some, right, all these things, which I already knew, but then I went back to school and was like, oh, blinded by it, So, and I forget the question now, but
I was just asking you to talk a little bit about your agency work, and then also.
So I started in that pure behaviorism and was like, no, this is not enough, right? I need a bigger picture. So I made the jump to work in home with kids on the spectrum, but also kids who had different other kinds of behavior struggles in school, at home. And I started to see the pattern of the emotionally sensitive kid and the emotionally sensitive parent and the trauma piece, right? So now you've got behavior, you've got family systems, and you've got trauma, right? So it's just like building and layering and layering and layering. And so there was red tape, there was, time constraints, billing constraints, logistical constraints when I was doing in-home therapy, like, how am I going to see more than 4 people in a day when I'm driving an hour to each of their homes, right? How am I going to make a living when I don't get paid mileage, right? Like, this is nuts. So really teasing out, what am I passionate about? What am I willing to work hard for? And what am I not willing to take away from my self-respect, which is driving an hour to see clients.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but those clients need services. So right now I'm willing to take insurance. So I take their insurance, but they have to drive to see me. Right. Rather than, so I've started to put that boundary in. And then I've been doing some IEPs. I've been doing some independent education plans. Right. And so I've only done maybe like 3. And I went to talk to my mentor and I was like, okay, hold on. What am I doing outside of the session that's taking me longer? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, just like recalibrating what the time looks like and what the service also looks like as far as how much I want to offer and be available.
Yeah.
Agency work, working for community mental health. It's great experience when you're a novice and you get a lot of clinical experience, and you also learn about those things that you really don't like, that you don't want to create in your own business. And you want to have the freedom and flexibility to be your own boss and really have the ideal practice, your dream practice. And that's something that you've been able to take that knowledge and create. I'm curious about your timeline. because you've been in private practice 8 months total now. And then
Yes.
at what point did you decide in your private practice journey that you wanted to invest in the private practice marketing e-course and coaching program?
Yeah, sure. So it was fairly early. So part of it was spurred by October 2018. I was still in a full-time agency position and starting to be completely transparent with my supervisor and say, okay, I'm heading towards branching out. Because I had just passed my independent test. So I could at this point, right? Because I was still checking the boxes of the hours and the requirements. And so, I just went ahead and was upfront with her. And then, so I was planning to transition, but then January 31st, it was like, bye. So it was like, okay. All right, I guess we're doing this now.
So you left January 31st? Is that what you said? You just left?
Done.
You didn't have a plan?
No. I mean, I had the startings of a plan. Like, so November, I did my LLC and I opened a bank account but I didn't have a space. Right?
Yep. I remember all those different things.
Yeah. So half a plan, maybe not no plan, half a plan. So I got into a space in mid-March. And then, but as soon as February 1st happened, I was already listening to podcasts. I was already reading things, right? Because I didn't have a full-time job anymore. So I was like, okay, my full-time job is now how to build a private practice.
I like, that's important.
Yeah. So, because it wasn't getting done while I was working full-time in an agency. So I chose to say, well, I've been released into self-employment, right? I've been released into building my private practice full-time. So, so I started listening to you guys and a couple other coaches and reading lots of things and being very introspective, right? About, okay, I could go to another agency, but then what does that mean? Right? How am I going to fill this gap of time until I can get it built? And like, you know what? I'm going to build it. Kate, to answer your question, that was kind of like getting into maybe seeing some of the reality of what I didn't know after I opened the course.
That's painful, right? You're like, no, I got this. It's going to be easy. No problem. And it's like, boom, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How long can I do this? Right? How long can I sit here in this? I'm kind of doing it, but I'm not all the way doing it. Right. And I mean, I was also kind of like resting and recovering from being in agency work for 15 years. Right. I mean, let's be honest.
A well-deserved rest.
Yeah. And so, kind of was having conversations with my husband and with my mom, who's a really big support to me and an encourager. And they were kind of like, we understand that you're taking this slow and we understand that you're needing some rest and recuperation, but we also feel like maybe you're treating this like a hobby.
Oh, okay.
Right? Oh, snap.
That was a little psh in the face, right?
Yeah. So then I had the conversation with Katie, and she was like, so what's going to be, I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. I don't think I'm going to do this yet. Like, this is great, but I'm not going to do it yet. And you're like, well, so what's going to be different if you do this later?
Your hobby?
Right.
Like,
those two converge, and I'm like, expletive. Okay. So, and I already had this amazing jump into private practice that I kind of took and kind of got shoved into. And so I was like, well, I'll jump into this private practice startup marketing thing. Yeah.
And so what was your biggest hesitation about joining the e-course and coaching program?
Probably the scarcity and mindset of money. Probably like, I don't have it right now. Am I ever going to have it?
Mm-hmm. And I know you had to overcome something and you did something, but before we jump into that, I just want to take a quick break for our sponsor.
Okay.
When it comes to keeping your practice organized, you want software that's not only simple, but the best. We recommend Therapy Notes. Their platform lets you manage notes, claims, scheduling, and they have a new awesome telehealth platform for your online counseling sessions. They offer amazing unlimited phone support and email support. So when you have a question, they are there to help. To get started with the practice management software trusted by over 60,000 professionals, go to therapynotes.com and start a free trial today. Enter promo code PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, and they will give you 2 months to try for free. Go to therapynotes.com. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and frustrated, not knowing where to start or how to grow and scale your private practice? You've spent years in school and a ton of money getting your degree, but you weren't taught the necessary branding, marketing, and entrepreneurial skills needed to be successful in private practice.
We get it. We've been there. We're Kate and Katie from the Private Practice Startup. We've spent a crazy amount of money and over a decade learning and perfecting a proven marketing strategy that works. Let us teach you the step-by-step proven system to help you fill your practice with the clients you love and live the life you've always dreamed of. Visit privatepracticestartup.com. Look for the e-course tab to learn more and see the amazing results our coachees have been achieving.
So yeah, you had actually told me something about what you had to do to get into the course around money. And this wasn't until after our course was over and we invited you on a Facebook Live. So share with Startup Nation what you did.
So I went to my mom. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I went to my mom, and I said, I think this is the thing, right? I think, so you said the thing about the hobby, and I know sometimes I'm so energetic and come up with all these great ideas. My husband's always like, just because it's a great idea doesn't mean it has to be your great idea. Right? Okay. All right. So, but she really could feel, I think, the authenticity and the presence that I got from talking to you and to reading your stuff. And I had already listened to the webinar about the paperwork and had already bought the paperwork. So I had that. And so I kind of said, can you help me with this? Is this something you'd be willing to invest in for me? And no hesitation. Yes.
Wow.
100%. Yeah.
And so then share about, so you got out of the course, you were seeing a ton more clients.
Yes. So
and then what happened with the money?
So I was making money while I was in the course. And
that's my favorite thing to hear. We really talk about this because, I say it jokingly, but I really say it seriously, is that, we all went to graduate school. We all at least have a master's. Some of us have a PhD. And, we paid to go to school. We were never taught how to make money. We're never taught how to build a practice. And then my favorite thing that we paid for was to work for free. That's called internship, right?
Yeah.
And we run these, 16 weeks courses? I don't know. I've been out of school for so long. And then we come out with this huge student loan, right? Yep. And the reality is when you invest in coaching, business coaching, whatever, mentorship, and you are following a proven system, the ability to actually make money. So you are getting a return on your investment as you're taking
immediately, not after.
Yes.
Right then, the next week. Yeah,
that is so exciting to me. That opportunity was not available to Kate and I, right? So when we first started private practice, there was no podcast on how to start a private, none. There was Casey Truffaut. We watched her video series, right? And that was it. And I think if someone said to me, you can actually make money in taking this course, at first I'd be skeptical. I'd be right. Yes, sure. Yeah. But that's just, I don't know what else to say about that. Thank you for sharing that. That's all.
Well, I think there's two pieces here. So I think there was the willingness for me to look at my worth and look at my value and say, it doesn't have to be 3 months from now. It can be now.
Wow. Right? So you declared that coming into the course. Okay. I love that.
And then I think that's what my mom picked up on. I think my mom said, wow, I see a mind shift. And I'm dabbling in this and I'm ready to do this. Mm-hmm. Right. And so she was willing and able to say, let's run with it.
I love this. Yeah. I love that you're talking about your experience with this because the mindset blocks are really an issue for so many people, especially around money. Yeah. And it just shows that whenever you make that decision to really invest in yourself, that's truly where the magic happens. That's where when you go all in on yourself, the excuses, the reasons not to do it, all of the objections just kind of disappear. And you were able to find someone who believed in you when you believed in yourself, and you were so determined and they invested in you. And then your return on investment has been amazing because you were able to start making money right away in the course, pay your mom back.
Yeah, pay my mom back. Yeah.
Profitable practice. It's just, it's amazing to hear this.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do your mom and husband say now?
Oh my God. They are just, you can just see the joy and the proud and the, you know, just the excitement of like, wow, where is this going to go? Like if we're at, you know, if we're at, when we were at 3 months, when we were at 6 months, we're at 8 months, like, wow, we're here already. Like we can only continue to invest and we can only continue to believe. And we can, I think, you know, part of what in the show notes, I'm not sure if it's there or not, but like we talked about the abundance mindset, right? And so I think we talk about the scarcity mindset a lot, which is good. We need to recognize it's there. But I think the abundant mindset is not necessarily opposite, but is almost like a way that, you know, it's not just the money that we're waiting, that we need to invest. It's also that I'm enough, right? And that there will be enough, whatever that is. We might not even know, but.
Right. Well, and I think also the courage to show up. You know, I know we're currently in the middle of a cohort, and I'm just seeing so much authenticity and just like, I'm struggling with this. I need help. This is my crappy money mindset, or I don't know how to do this. And, you know, we're here to support. And it is so important because when we are courageous enough to show up authentically, regardless of if it's good or not good, like that's also where the magic happens. You know? Yeah,
because it can be painful, right? I mean, it can be tremendously painful to show up. Courage doesn't mean it's going to be okay, right? Courage means that I'm going to do it anyway, whether it's going to be okay or whether it's not going to be okay.
Right.
But I also think that ties in with the abundance mindset of, I don't know who said it, but it's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
Nice.
Right?
Nice. Yes. I like that one.
Yeah, I love everything that you're talking about. And just so our audience can get a sense of where you are now, tell us a little bit about where you are now in your practice, how many clients you're seeing on average a week, and, you know, how many days a week you're working, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I work 5 days a week. I do work right now about 10 to 12 hours a day, and that is because I'm still wearing all the hats. But I am looking forward to, I'm making plans already, meeting with people already for in 2020 to move forward to maybe having a virtual assistant, maybe to have a biller, maybe to have, you know. Nice. So there are definitely things in the works so that that's not going to continue to be the case.
You're in the bootstrapping phase, but you're in your first year. You haven't even finished your first. You've got like 4 months to go before your first year is up.
Exactly.
And that's the point where a lot of times you are, you know, doing more of wearing all of the hats and have your hand in so many different areas of the business, but it's on your radar that you know you need to start outsourcing.
Exactly.
Be able to get those things off your plate so you can free up more time and energy and focus on areas of the business that you truly love.
Yeah, and I think that's another place I got permission from in the course was, you don't have to do this now, but you do have permission to start planning for this.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now you're working 5 days a week, and about how many clients on average are you seeing a week now?
So it got up to 6, 7, 8, and it was like, no, eek.
A day?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've scaled back down to 4 or 5.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. And that's is that a nice happy medium for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So you're working 5 days a week, seeing about 4 or 5, so anywhere between 20 to 25 clients a week.
Yes.
And you're wearing all of those other hats. That's a very full schedule.
Yes.
Definitely time to bring on the virtual assistant and start outsourcing some things for sure.
Yeah.
That's the next step. Yeah.
And I'm curious, how have you rewarded yourself or celebrated your success?
Ooh, good.
Because I always want to know about that.
Yes. So I'm in upstate South Carolina. So, and I'm a mountain girl at heart. So went to school in North Carolina and Georgia. And so this last weekend I went on a retreat, I took Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just unplugged, turned off the work phone, left the work phone at the house, didn't take the computer, wasn't on Facebook, and so for 4 days, I was in the mountains with other people, just figuring out the rest of life, not work life, but like, how do we be in the world, right? How do we recharge? How do we nurture ourselves? And I got not one, but 2 massages.
You say it like it's a naughty thing,
right? Like, oh gosh, like,
that's splurge.
Yeah, they had three masseuses on site, and so I signed up for one, and then there was another opening on Saturday, and I was like, is that selfish? Like, somebody else probably wants it. And then it's like 2 hours before the opening of the massage, and so I'm like, well, you snooze, you lose. Like,
that's right.
If this massage appointment is going to go unused, and I'm going to use it.
You I deserve this.
Right. And I told other people at their retreat kind of that same way, like, I got a second massage. And they were like, hell yeah. So there was I was surrounded by all these non-judgmental men and women who were like, yeah, you worked hard for that. You deserve that. Like, yeah.
So I love it. And it's so funny how like that worth stuff or deserving stuff just creeps right in. Right.
Does it matter whether I deserve it or not? Like, no.
And it's not selfish.
No.
It's very selfless. You're giving to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Ruth, I've enjoyed you sharing your journty, and it's always a pleasure to check in with you where you're at and what's going on. And I know that actually joy and courage are part of your brand, and you just really emulate that. And I just love that. And I know that you have a book that you absolutely love that you want to share with our audience. What is it?
Yes. So a book that I've read multiple times, actually, throughout my kind of the end of where I was at the agency and starting to build the private practice, and then towards the like, oh no, we're really in this now, is Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, Brach.
Cool.
So she just, talks about psychotherapy, mindfulness, radical acceptance of yourself, of your situation, of joy, radical acceptance of courage, and how that, life has pain, but it also has the other things.
Awesome.
Nice.
We'll definitely put that on our show notes page. And I was curious, Ruth, I wanted to ask you, for our listeners, if there was someone who was on the fence or they were curious about wanting to join our e-course coaching program, what would you want to tell them based on your own experience and what it's brought to your life?
Definitely. I think we all need help. I think we all need people that are better than us around us. Right? We don't become better unless we purposely put people in our life that are better. And I don't mean that comparisonly. I just mean like different stages, different strengths. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So put those people in your life. If it's Kate and Katie, I think it should be. But if it's other people, like put those people in your life that you strive to emulate or to reflect with.
Yeah, so important. And if it isn't us, that's okay, right? Because there's many other people that are going to serve you, and we just want you guys to be served, right? And so make advancements. I mean, Kate and I constantly talk about, as therapists in the world, like, you might recommend your best pizza place, but you guys are out there transforming lives. Like, it is our mission to really help you guys create thriving practices, but stay in practice because people need you. Like, your job, that's why you guys are superheroes. So, thank you, Ruth, for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And your joy. And Startup Nation, we hope that you guys join us next week. And I'm actually excited about this topic because I know that we've wanted to have this guest on for a while, and Catherine McGowan from CPH and Associates. So if you're like, why do I know that name, right? This is the malpractice insurance. So we're going to be talking about how to protect your private practice and the common claims that people actually submit. So you want to make sure that you listen for this one.
And let's take a moment to hear from our Startup Nation superhero shout out for this episode, which comes from our friend and colleague, Luna Bedina Wolf. And Luna says, the Private Practice Startup has been an instrumental tool in my growth as a private practice owner. If you have not been listening to their podcast, make sure you do. They will be able to guide you in the right steps towards success. Thank you, Luna, for your kind feedback. We really appreciate that. And we actually had the opportunity of having Luna on the podcast recently. You guys will be hearing that episode as well. And if you're loving the podcast and the content that we're producing, definitely let us know. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Send us an email, leave us a review on Google or Facebook. We always love to be able to hear that feedback and to know that what we're doing is really hitting home for you guys and really on point. And if there's something that we haven't talked about yet, topic-wise, definitely let us know that too, so we can make sure we're meeting your needs.
Startup Nation, thanks for always allowing us to inspire you from startup to mastery. Have an awesome and inspired day, everybody. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.